Dear friends, I am Father Mandra and I warmly welcome you to Bodhini, the Neural Chapel, also known as BNC, where the timeless teachings of Jesus meets the quiet brilliance of neuroscience. We live in a world drowning in noise, religious conflict, ethnic divisions, theological wars, so much outer faith, so little inner stillness. The rush of life, we have forgotten how to step back, how to observe our own inner world in silence. In our last session, we briefly explored the 4 meditative neural spiritual steps hidden in the prayer of the tax collector. Today, we go deeper into the first step, the praise he stood far off. We are beginning a 2-part exploration of this forgotten spiritual technology, simple, often overlooked, yet incredibly powerful. As I have mentioned, it could be called the first true step in both meditation and authentic prayer. Let me make it clear. This practice, we often miss its power. Believe it or not, we got it back through one of the most unexpected figures in the scripture. A tax collector who becomes unlikely guide in contemplative prayer and inner healing. Let's begin with a reading from the Gospel of Luke chapter 18 verse 30. Notice what Jesus does not say. He does not say the tax collector prayed well. He does not say he believed differently. He simply says he stood far off. At first glance, this may look like shame or unworthiness. But if it is something far deeper, this is not merely a physical posture or social withdrawal. It is a neurocognitive position, a sacred stance of the mind. It is a form of neural meditation, a lost key to the prayer. In a world obsessed with outward displays of faith, this sacred distance might just be the doorway back to inner stillness. Let's begin to explore what we call stood far off. The tax collector was in the temple, but he did not seek the center. He didn't speak loudly. He didn't compare himself. He simply stood far off. This distance was not from the Pharisee, and it was not from God. It was from ego. It was not born of shame, but of mental clarity and reverence. Clarity sees gently without distortion. Reverence bows gently without grasping. The mind becomes still, yet deeply awake. So, to stand far off is to withdraw from performance-based religion. Let go of the need to prove or pretend. Create a space for God to be God. Though the tax collector stood far off, he was actually more present than the Pharisee. This was not withdrawal. It was reverent presence. To understand this posture in modern terms, we turn to neuroscience. Standing far off reflects a kind of mental positioning known in contemplative psychology as metacognitive distance. But what exactly is metacognition? Metacognition means becoming aware of our own mind without being hijacked by it. More precisely, it is the ability to observe our thoughts, our emotions, our impulses, and actions without being consumed by them. It is awareness of awareness, like stepping back and watching the inner storm without being pulled into its winds. The tax collector, though within the temple, surrounded by structure, tradition, and ritual, stood far off from everything that could fragment his connection with the divine. He was not detached from God. He was detached from everything that distorts God. This is a meditative technology and a neural discipline. When we take a mental step back, especially in emotionally charged situations, something remarkable happens in the brain. We shift activity from the limbic system, reactivity, to the prefrontal cortex, awareness and empathy. Cortisol levels reduce. Theta brainwaves increase, supporting clarity and introspection. Internal regulation is activated. So, standing far off was not weakness. It was a mental mastery. It was a neural meditation, a spiritual technology that allows the mind to observe itself. The tax collector was fully present, yet not possessed by his reactions. He observed his mind without obeying it. This is metacognitive prayer, the hallmark of spiritual maturity. He gave full space for God to be God. By refusing to compare, perform, or defend himself, the tax collector broke the mental loop. This act deactivated the default mode network, DMN, the brain system tied to self-referencing, ego looping, and internal narration. He entered a space of present moment awareness. This was neural stillness, which allowed deep spiritual attentiveness. The tax collector did not fall into religious argument or spiritual sarcasm. He chose truth over trend, vulnerability over cynicism, silence over debate. His brain was no longer ruled by the limbic system, that part of the brain that fuels fear, aggression, and egoic survival. By choosing stillness, he activated the prefrontal cortex, where insight, compassion, and truth resides. Dear friends, when religion becomes ego-driven, it activates the dopamine system, fueling the craving for approval, applause, and image making. But dopamine-driven spirituality is not peaceful. It is addictive. It stimulates, but it does not satisfy. The tax collector didn't seek applause. He was not performing faith. He rested in serotonin-based surrender, the quiet joy of contentment. His prayer was not a declaration. It was a return, not a performance, but a presence. Let's summarize what was happening in the tax collector's brain when he stood far off. Brain function and effect. Amygdala calmed. Less fear, reduced emotional hijack. Prefrontal cortex activated. Heightened awareness, empathy, truth. Default mode network, DMN, deactivated. Less ego-driven looping. Hormonal shift from dopamine craving to serotonin and oxytocin peace connection. This is more than spiritual awakening. This is spiritual neuroregulation, a rewiring of the brain through reverent stillness. Dear friends, let's pause here and reflect. The tax collector didn't change the temple. He changed his posture within the temple. And that made all the difference. Jesus said, "This man went home justified, not because he shouted, but because he stood far off." Dear friends, in part 2, we will explore how this sacred posture transforms relationship, conflict, emotional well-being. We will see how the tax collector's stance becomes a neural technique for peace in families and in personal healing. Dear friends, if this lesson resonated with you, please subscribe, connect, comment, and follow us at Bodhini in the Neural Chapel. Until then, may you find space, may you find clarity, may you find peace. Thank you.